Hi, my name is Casey Cadman, and I have chosen to base my Lit Crit vlog on the book The Warhorse by Michael Morpurgo. So the back of the book, so pretty much the little blurb, just says, it is 1914, and Joey, a farm horse, is sold to the army and thrust into the midst of World War I on the Western Front. When Joey is dragged away, his heart aches for Albert, the farmer's son he is forced to leave behind. In the army, the beautiful Red Bay horse is trained to charge the enemy, drag heavy artillery, and carry wounded soldiers not much older than Albert off the battlefields. Amongst the clamoring of guns and while plodding through the cold mud, Joey wonders if the war will ever end, and if it does, will he ever find Albert again? The story is based on true events and follows the journey of Albert and Joey the horse. At the outbreak of World War I, Joey is sold to the cavalry and shipped to France. Joey is soon caught up in enemy fire, and fate takes him on an extraordinary journey, serving on both sides before finding himself alone in no man's land. But as time goes on, Albert cannot forget Joey. Even though he's still not old enough to enlist, he embarks on a treacherous mission to the trenches to find him and bring him home. In total, the story follows the journey of Joey and Albert until at last they reunite. I personally really enjoy reading this story because firstly it is a very captivating story like many of Michael Morpurgo's other war-based stories. They are quick and easy reads for someone above the age around 9 or 10. I find that the more I read it, the more new things I find that I didn't notice before. I find that the author develops the text well throughout the entire book. He gives a good introduction to the story by introducing the main characters and the areas of significance. It touches on many different areas as well. The author also starts the book with an author's note, which tells us a bit about the point of the story, that being to remember Joey and Albert and their story. Joey the horse being the main protagonist means that he is developed well from the beginning. It tells us about him being brought at an auction when he was just 6 months old, and the story slowly develops from there. He meets Albert, the boy, and they become best friends. He also meets their other working horse, Zoe. They get put to work and become a great working team. Albert takes care of them and spends most of his time with them as well. At first, Joey has a rough time with Albert's father, and he refuses to submit to him and therefore becomes Albert's horse, and he has to train him. I think that the author develops the characters well so that we are able to form our own views and opinions on them from what we read. Joey is a young horse who cares about his best friend Albert and doesn't want to lose him. Albert is a kind young boy who would do anything for his horse. Zoe is a kind workhorse used specifically to plow the grounds of the family farm. Albert's father is a mean drunk, and his mother is a character who is less developed in the story, but is mentioned a few times. There are a few other characters who are mentioned throughout the book, such as another horse named Topthorn that Joey meets on his war journey, and a few other officers and generals who are more minor characters. Albert also meets and becomes friends with David, and at last Joey and Albert are reunited. Unfortunately, and I don't mean to do any spoilers, but both Topthorn and David do end up dying, but they are key significant areas of the book that I find are very important. The book as a whole is very descriptive, and the author knows how to set the scene well. The dialogue is meaningful and works well with the setting and action that's been happening in the story. The story has many ups and downs, but is overall well written and fun to read. The story allows you to feel happy, sad, worried, relieved, and so many more emotions, and it really shows you not only the hardships that they face, but also the happier times and the grief, and that can all kind of come at once, unfortunately. I find that it's a great book for many people of different ages, and it tells Joey's story well. It also allows you to realize what friendship can mean to people and shows what a good friend is. Personally, I find that this book is just not only well written and a great story. I personally do like to read quite a few war stories, and the ones by Michael Morpurgo, honestly, are just so well written for like any age. I personally take inspiration in my own work by using a lot of the emotions and the way that emotion can set a scene. I find that he does that well throughout many of his books. I think not on Warhorse, but also I think it's Private Peaceful, and there's so many that I've read. The Elephant in the Garden, they're all my favorites. I think also he develops like the idea of friendship well, and I feel like that's also just such a nice and light story topic a lot of the time, but having the idea of like a war story as part of friendship just makes it kind of just like it's almost just like a package all wrapped up, I guess you can say. And many of his books are like that. And I think they just, because they're so well written, I guess it's just nice to have something different like that. I also find that it's kind of cool when the main protagonist isn't just, I guess, a human, and so the whole idea of Joey and his thoughts is very, I guess, fun to read for, I guess, obviously everyone, different ages. But yeah, so overall, I do take a lot of inspiration from his books, and he's a great writer.